Welcome to Backstage with Richard Ridge. Michael Arden is one of the most in-demand directors. He won the Tony for his work on Parade, and this season he has directed one of the most beautiful, heartfelt musicals, Maybe Happy Ending, which stars Darren, Criss, and Helen Shen. Coming up for him are the musicals The Queen of Versailles, which welcomes back to Broadway Kristen Chenoweth, and The Lost Boys. And I caught up with Michael here at the legendary Sardi's. You have directed one of the most beautiful and heartfelt musicals of the season, Maybe Happy Ending. How did it come about for you to get involved in this?
So a few years ago, 2017 I think it was, I just sent a script from our great producer Jeffrey Richards, and he said, here's this crazy script. These kids have won the Richard Rodgers Award for this show called Maybe Happy Ending. They wrote it in Korean first, and now they've translated it into English, and we're looking to do an American production. In fact, I pulled up the email the other day just to, I searched my inbox and found it, and he said, I think there's something really special here that could be a wonderful Broadway show. And I read the log line about two robots, and I thought, I don't know, maybe this is not a great idea. But I did my due diligence and listened to the score and read the script, and by the time I was finished, I was just completely blown away. I was so moved. It felt like one of the most human stories I'd ever read, and the score was so fresh and yet so nostalgic. It felt like something completely new and something completely classic at the same time.
You talk about, without giving too much away, the story is about two helper bots, right?
Yes, it focuses on two helper bots, Oliver and Claire, who are different models. Now, helper bots are like robots invented to help people who also look and act like people. Claire is a bit more of advanced model than Oliver, so she has certain attributes that make her a little bit more advanced, including the ability to improvise with more frequency, the ability to drive. She has sarcasm in the way that he doesn't, and some other things. And they meet living in a retirement facility for helper bots. So it's like, when you get rid of your old iPhone, you put it in a drawer. This is like a big drawer for old robots to live out the rest of their shelf life. And without giving too much away, they meet and go on an adventure to kind of heal some old wounds from their past life and end up falling in love and poking at the questions we all have about how you can sign up to love someone without signing up to ultimately lose them.
Yeah. They're the most human, even though they're not. So when you have an incredible cast in this show, you have Darren, Criss, you have Helen Shen, that play the two leads. They're not supposed to show a lot of emotion, but yet we as audience members feel all their emotion.
Well, that was something in rehearsals that we constantly battled. I had to say, robots can't cry. Remember, robots can't cry, because the show is so beautiful and emotional, and it can take you to a place where you do want to cry. But I think Darren and Helen and Marcus and Des, that entire company is just so spectacular, and they're doing such nuanced, fine work and so pulled back. It's never too much. It's just right on the verge of sort of machine and human, and at times can dip into one or the other more depending on what the script needs. But I'm just in love with those four.
So I was saying, what was the rehearsal process like? Because we kept popping in and out during rehearsals, and I was like, I want to know more about this show.
I mean, it was incredible for me. I had never done a musical with this small of a cast before, because most musicals, have a big company, and it was such a delight to get to really feel like this tiny little family. And our production stage manager, Justin Scribner, who is a wizard, and our entire music team and the writers, it was really fun to approach this, and all of us could fit around one table. So, we were able to really dig in the way that I think, when you're staging huge production numbers, you aren't always able to. But this certainly felt more like a play rehearsal than a musical rehearsal, and to have these actors who just approach the songs like they're speaking. I mean, they're just spectacular at it.
And let's talk about working on an original new musical. That must be so exciting, because you have the creators in the room with you, and you're creating this all together.
Yep.
And you're creating it on the four performers you have up there. There's nothing like an original cast, because so much of them is put into it and vice versa. What have you enjoyed the most about working on this original musical with your team of Will Aronson and Hugh Park?
I would say it's been such a journey because we've been working on this since 2017 in really Americanizing the story. Obviously, it takes place in Korea in the future, but we really wanted this to be not a carbon copy or a sort of echo of the Korean play. We really wanted to create this for American audiences with the authenticity of it being set in Korea. So quite a bit changed. I mean, they were writing new songs. Will and Hugh are the most collaborative people I've ever met. They're so incredibly talented. I can't get over the fact that they are now hopefully solidified in the lexicon of great musical theater composers in America. But the most fun was saying, hey, you know, I think there needs to be another song here for the jazz singer, or we're missing this beat, or what if there were a title song? I mean, the last song that was written is the song Maybe Happy Ending, the title song, which is new to Broadway. And so we have had a chance over the years to really play with ideas. I brought in the idea of seeing Claire's past and getting her backstory, and so then we decided to add those characters of Jiyeon and Suhan that are the filmed actors. So it's really been such an open, collaborative process, and they never clung on to, oh, well, this worked in Korea, because clearly it did. You know, it's a huge hit over there. But it really took its own shape, and to see artists who have a firm belief in what they're doing, but also have an openness to collaborate and create something new based upon the people that they are making it with, it's such an inspiring room to be in with this team.
Yeah, it's visually stunning. The design team you have put together for this, it's a little beautiful show, but it's a big show at the very same time.
It's a big show.
Yeah, I mean, visually, the fluidity of this show is beautiful too. The way everything moves, the sets and the lighting and everything. It's like an orchestra.
Yeah,
you know, so
thank you.
what kind of conversations did you have with your design team of the look and feel you wanted to bring to the show?
I mean, I would say that the design process was just as involved as the creative writing process for the show. Dane Laffrey, who is my design partner and best friend of 30 years almost now, we were high school roommates in boarding school together. He designs all my work. We spent a lot of time in Tokyo actually working on this design. And kind of taking inspiration from a certain tower there that was built as this kind of utopian idea of community living. And we took that idea and translated it into the Helper-Bot apartments, and then involving our incredible video designer, George Reeve, who did such incredible work. And we really storyboarded this like an animated film. So, I mean, we have a book of like 300 pages of every moment and how it moved, and then moving into the idea of how lighting was integrated with that, because you know, we're doing this play in boxes, so there aren't traditional lighting positions. So from the beginning, I really wanted all elements to be integrated and not just kind of a layer cake of ideas. We had to all get in the batter together. And then, of course, Justin Scribner, our production stage manager, was with us from the beginning, and he was a math major in college, which is very helpful. And we were able to kind of pre-visualize and do so much work in the rehearsal process. Like for every scene we were rehearsing, we were planning out the milliseconds of how the set would function and work. And we like to call it zero tolerance, because there's so many axes of automation and things moving that if one thing is slightly off, it all falls apart. Like, you know, it's like a big Rubik's Cube on acid. But we just came together and sort of, it's spawned from an original idea I had with Dane of like, how can we create something that really turns on its head the idea of how we process visual information. Now, we're used to now looking at our iPhones, which are vertical. So that was really important to me in the design, that we actually take the space, especially when Oliver is in this sort of claustrophobic first act of the play, and like shove it to the center and put the text on top through use of Chiron and video. And we slowly become more and more human. So we're going from this kind of Android visual cue into something more human, which we see with two eyes as opposed to one. So that's kind of how we started, and it evolved from there. And then we knew that once we entered into the memory of James, we wanted to introduce the idea of of circular movement. So it wasn't just swiping left and right on your phone or pinching and zooming. It became something a bit more organic. And then by the time they reached the island, we could open up. So it's a world that moves from more technical, cold, sterile machinery to something much more organic. Obviously created by machinery, but really we wanted the design to evolve as the characters become more and more human. We wanted the design to do that as well.
You know, people come in from all over the world to see this musical. I mean, I talk to people, I'm like, what are you seeing? Oh, we're seeing maybe Happy Ending.
That's amazing.
You know, so it's like audiences have fallen in love with this show. For you as a director, like when you're in the house watching the show and you realize how this musical is affecting people on so many different levels, besides just entertainment, so much more, what that means to you.
It's so gratifying. I mean, this was a piece that, of course, when we all knew it was special working on it in our, you know, in the world within our rehearsal room, but to see audiences react to it, to see 9-year-old kids fall in love with what is happening physically and the humor and the caper of the show, and next to them, you know, people in the twilight of their lives, holding the hand of their partner or having memories of someone they might have lost, and to see them both experiencing this show and connecting to it so deeply for both the same reasons and different reasons is just so beautiful. I love to like sneak to the side of the theater and watch people from profile and to see them gasp and laugh and look to each other, and I've noticed people like tend to touch each other a lot in the audience here. I don't mean that in a bad way, but you know, it's surprisingly for a show about robots, it's sort of encouraging people to have a more human connection with the person to their right and left. And I think if theater can do that, then that's our goal. That's the best we can hope for. And so I'm just so grateful to the audiences that have come, who have taken a risk on a new musical about robots with no recognizable IP and kind of a strange title, let's be honest. It gives me great hope in not only theater, but in humanity.
Yeah. Well, you know, you're a very busy man because you have there's maybe many more than that, but 2 of your next projects. I had the privilege of going up to Boston to the Colonial Theater to see the opening night of The Queen of Versailles.
What a night.
What a night that was. I mean, you're bringing Criss and Shen with back to Broadway. It's Stephen Schwartz's new musical with Lindsay
Ferrantino.
I mean, what a beautiful musical.
Yeah.
I know you're sort of working on it at the moment. It's coming in the fall. What attracted you to The Queen of Versailles and the look and feel you wanted to give it?
Well, I was obsessed with this documentary. It's an incredible film by genius filmmaker Lauren Greenfield, who, if you don't know her work, definitely check it out. But Queen of Versailles focuses on a woman named Jackie Siegel, who is married to David Siegel, who owns one of the largest private businesses in the world, Westgate Timeshare Resorts. And it tells her story and how she set out to build the largest private home in America, which is slightly based on the Palace of Versailles in France. And Lindsay and I met and bonded over this film at a dinner, strangely enough, and we were really interested in creating something that was about the American cancer, which is ultimately capitalism, but more so than that, the underlying kind of addiction of needing more, of this kind of bottomless pit that we feel the need to fill, which is, I think, kind of inspired by the American dream and its fallacy. So, yeah, very different than maybe Happy Ending. But it was the chance to really write and create a story about consequence and how we are all, again, we might feel far, far away from building the biggest home in America, but we all have that desire to accumulate more, to acquire more, to have more in our bank account, to expand. And we're kind of poking the question of, like, what is that about? Is it avoidable? So it's a really interesting show, and it's about someone who's very much alive right now. So, you know, it's somewhat documentary. It's certainly there's some farce in it. But ultimately, I think it's a tragedy in a way. I don't want to give too much away, but we wanted to write something that was quite complicated and quite damning of this American idea. So I can't wait to see how people react. It's unlike anything I've ever done, and visually it's so delicious. You get to watch this home be built over the course of the evening, as well as take trips back to the 18th century and 17th century France and kind of see the rise and fall of the French monarchy. So it's epic, it's ambitious, and Kristen Chenoweth and F. Murray Abraham at the helm. It's like the most delicious masterclass of comedy and pathos one can see. Yeah. So I can't wait for it.
They fall in love with both of them, but they fall in love with her. I mean, the second Kristen walks on stage, she has the entire audience in the palm of her hand. It's so interesting to watch happen.
Well, she's a witch.
Yeah. She is so great in the show.
She's incredible in the show. I cannot wait for people to see her. And it's high time she originates in a role. And this one is like, it's so perfect for her, and yet so not her at the same time. It's an exciting thing to watch her tackle.
How she does that, it's going to be amazing to watch. And the set, like I said, the set kept changing, getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Dane Laffrey, he's amazing.
So when you two were in school, like, look back at the two of you in school, like, did you ever imagine that the two of you?
Yes.
Okay.
I do imagine it. Strangely enough, we had kind of I think they're called captain's beds, where like your drawers in the dorms are like underneath, and we lie there in the dark in our twin beds and talk about theater and design ideas, and I wonder if you could take a stage and turn it upside down, or and this was the kind of stuff we were dreaming on. And so the fact that we get to do it together and people give us sometimes large sums of money to do it with is a real pinch me feeling.
And then there's The Lost Boys, which I hear is absolutely spectacular. One of my favorite movies now has been turned into a musical. So what attracted you to The Lost Boys and the look and feel you want to give that show?
It is, I mean, I love vampire stories, always have. And this one really I found exciting because it was about youth in a way. I mean, it draws, of course, the title draws from the Peter Pan idea. But it takes place in the years when I grew up. So I was a kid in the 80s, and it's about young people, and it's sexy, and it's about ultimately, we yearn so much to like dissociate from our family and to break free of the thing we think that takes away our freedom, and yet sometimes that's the very thing that we need in order to be free. And I think that so emotionally I'm drawn to that in the story, and the idea of what would you do if you were given the choice to live forever? And why do we yearn for that? When actually that's a fallacy as well. Maybe there are some connections to Queen of Versailles in this, but it's sexy, it's young, the score is incredible. This band that I've been obsessed with forever, my favorite band called The Rescues, has written the score, and you're not even ready for this music. It's so good. I just listen to it all the time, even when I'm not working on it, because I love it so much.
We all fell in love with you first as an actor.
Thank you.
We did. You know that. I mean, we knew when you first came to the city, we were all doing interviews like, oh my God, Michael Arden. What made you move from being an actor to a director? Was there a defining moment when you said, I want to shift into this new direction?
Well, I was living in LA and working on a TV series called Anger Management for a long time. It's multiple years, and I was really missing theater. I mean, theater is the reason I got into the business completely. I, saw a community theater production of Big River when I was a kid, which ended up being the first Broadway show I was in, strangely enough. And I just fell in love with the theater and the fact that you could change people's hearts and minds by sharing air with them for 2 hours. I mean, it was revelatory to me. And so that's always been my first love, and I was working on a TV show and really missing it, and so I wrote a play and directed a play for like my friends who were all theater people living in LA who were unemployed at the time, because we really were jonesing to do something on stage. And it just was one of those moments of like sword in the stone, like clouds opened up, and it just felt right. All of the things that I had been circling, I had done lighting design, I had assisted directors, I had worked in producing offices, I had taken songwriting classes, and I had been kind of circling everything, and I found in that moment creating a space in which artists that I love could do their best work. That was so fulfilling to me, to be able to like create a space, to create a world, and then bring in actors that I geeked out over, and other artists, designers, collaborators, writers, that could bring that space to life in a way. It just felt like, oh, this is the thing I've been circling. I'm able to like land the plane here and stay a while, and I just love it. I mean, I think acting is something that I kind of get to do every day as a director in a way. It's like part of my brain is, I'm so grateful for the experience I've had as an actor, because they influence my work as a director, I hope, and maybe I'll get back on stage again, but boy, I'm loving, I watch people perform in my work and I'm like, boy, I couldn't do that. I'm just so in love with what is possible.